the state of signals. So we were curious ourselves and wanted to challenge our own assumptions on how people were using signals, their confidence level when it comes to signals. So we ended up putting out a decently robust survey. We got back 80 B2B marketers that were courageous enough to tell us how they were using signals. And what we wanted to uncover is how people are using signals. So those observable timestamp clues about a real person's buying journey. And when we say signals, what we're really trying to do is pair the who, the contact, with the what, their action or attribute, the when, the time that it happened, and the source, whether that's a page, campaign, and then layering on things like stage or buyer readiness score. And so what we learned was a little mixed, I would say, not to lead the witness or anything on here, but when we asked marketers about how confident they were, we got a 5.7 out of 10 as the average. And we had a little bit of an internal debate of whether, are marketers feeling too confident, and the 5.7 is a bit high when you consider the broad advertising that they're using and some wasted ad spend that might come out of that, or is it low? And we feel like with all the tools out there today, marketers should be a little bit more confident in what they can do and how they can target the right people at the right time. But as we began to dig in, we saw more and more kind of uncertainty around signals, pipeline, and just confidence between sales and marketing, outbound and inbound. And so I'll point out a couple other stats on this. So digging into the report, we also saw when we asked the question about if marketers are reaching in-market buyers, only 13.8% of marketers that answered the survey thought they were reaching the most in-market buyers. 61% said no, and 25% weren't even sure. Add to that, there was a weak alignment between paid and outbound. So the confidence level between sales and marketing hitting the right people at the right time was only a 5 out of 10. And so we got to thinking, where is this lack of confidence coming from? And where we netted out and where we believe a lot of that confidence gap comes from is the broad static filters that you'll see in the next slide, some hints of it around titles, company size, industry, and not clicking on targeting the right people at the right time with the same message across their journey. So, you get people that look right, but are not ready to buy. And that causes chaos within your pipeline and across your go-to-market team. The other thing we saw is when we asked, marketers what signals they were using, most are still in maybe the 101 level. Like, we get it, website visitors, we should be using firmographic, job title, company size, industry, we should be using CRM activity, and ad clicks. But these are useful. They're table stakes, right? Especially, it's 2025. And when you think about all the ways you're getting personalized content or all the ways brands are speaking to you, especially if you look at the B2C stuff, I get ads every day that I'm like, all right, that sounds like me. I will purchase this thing. How do we adapt that to our B2B buying journey? And so what's missing a lot of times is better timing and behavioral and contact level signals like job changes, competitive research, new ICP hires, reviving past championships or past champions. And so Vector out of the gate helps you reveal who's visiting your site, who's clicking your ads, and then competitive research. So, the message here from the Vector team, I think, is pretty simple. Of most teams are using signals today to tell you who, but not when. And so when we're pairing these signals together and we think about what the action is and the intent behind it, not to use a heavy loaded word like intent, maybe interest is better. The improvement comes from layering timing rich signals and activating them at the contact level, not the account level. And that's what we're super pumped about and really excited as the team of Goldcast marketers is going to show you how you can layer this to make more compelling content that actually, drives people to take a next step. And there is some good news. So the exciting part is we have so many signals at our fingertips. It's really keeping that line of focus, keeping that understanding of what signals matter and how we layer them together. So as you can see in this timeline, it's not about capturing basic signals. We can do that. It's about picking up some of the more nuanced behavioral signals that show timeline and readiness. So, a site visit is useful, sure. but a site visit plus a job change or a competitive research or an ad click, that's a much stronger indication of interest. And so you can see kind of if this were a journey, starting with a site visit to demo booked, you have early, mid stage, and late stage kind of ideas that can come together to really form moments in time where you can pull those signals and you can clarify things using your tech stack to stitch together a clearer timeline of behavior. And you can use tools like Goldcast, to pull signals around events pre, during, and post, and use Goldcast again to make some more compelling content that speaks directly to those buyers versus the accounts. And so I'll leave with this last point. It's a little bit of a case study, and we can talk a little bit more at the end about how Vector is using Vector. But this is something we recently did. So we were at Inbound, and we had an event that we were co-hosting, but not a booth, right? I think we all know the TLDR on some events is the surrounding events give a much bigger impact than maybe a booth at some of these conferences. So in this case, our signal was event attendees. And so we had a list of registered audiences. We narrowed that down to people in the San Francisco area who fit our ICP. So demand gen, titles, ABM, performance growth marketers, and the people that were most likely to see us at the event, moving through the sessions, kind of like grabbing interest, right? We went narrow on targeting and increased frequency to focus on brand awareness. For us, this was about impressions. The goal wasn't form fills, it was presence. We really wanted to have people connect the dots between the Boo See You at Inbound ad and us wearing our ghost shoes or handing out ghost plushies, or seeing Jess and our founder Joshua, walking around and saying, "Hey, I saw that ad. I'd love to talk to you a little bit more about Vector." And this was a good reminder for us that signals aren't just about lead gen or pipeline acceleration. Sometimes they're about being at the right place at the right time with the right audience, and that's really something that we harp on here at Vector. Making sure that the brand, even at the brand awareness play, is talking directly to the right folks at the right time. And so it ended up being a success. We ended up having a lot of folks come to us and saying, "Hey, I saw your ad, like I'd love to learn more." And so that's just one example of how Vector is using Vector. But I know Cindy and the Goldcast team are using Vector in some really new and interesting ways. So I'll pass it back to you, Cindy, to kind of run us through that. I'm super excited to hear how you're using it.